Helen's story begins long before the fall of Troy, at a time when the gods still interfered freely in the lives of mortals, because Helen was never meant to be ordinary. She was born from a union between Zeus, king of the gods, and Leda, the queen of Sparta, after Zeus descended to earth disguised as a swan. From this strange beginning, Helen emerged unlike any other, growing into a woman whose beauty seemed almost divine, so powerful that it seemed to bend fate itself. As Helen grew, her beauty drew kings, warriors, and princes from every corner of Greece, all seeking her hand. Yet choosing one man over the others threatened to ignite war before her life as a queen had even begun. Realizing this danger, King Tyndareus devised a solution that would later echo across history. He made every suitor swear a sacred oath. Whoever Helen chose as her husband, all the others would defend that marriage if it were ever violated. Only after this promise bound them together did Helen choose Menelaus, king of Sparta, believing that peace had been secured by words sworn before the gods. However, peace among mortals rarely survives the jealousy of the divine. On Mount Olympus, during the wedding feast of Peleus and Thetis, all the gods were invited, except one. Eris, the goddess of discord and strife, was deliberately excluded. For where she went, chaos always followed. Insulted and enraged by this slight, Eris chose revenge not through force, but through temptation. She hurled a golden apple into the midst of the celebration, inscribed with 3 simple words, "To the fairest." Instantly, rivalry erupted. Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite each claimed the apple, and when their quarrel threatened to tear Olympus apart, Zeus refused to judge. Instead, the decision was placed in the hands of Paris, a young Trojan prince, unaware that his choice would doom his city. One by one, the goddesses offered bribes. Hera promised power and kingship. Athena offered wisdom and victory in war, but Aphrodite offered something far more dangerous, the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. And so Paris chose Aphrodite, sealing Helen's fate long before he ever met her. Guided by divine promise, Paris sailed to Sparta and was welcomed as a guest in Menelaus's palace, protected by sacred laws of hospitality. Yet when Menelaus departed on royal business, Paris betrayed both his host and the gods themselves. Whether taken by force or drawn by Aphrodite's spell, Helen left Sparta with him, along with great treasures, and sailed east toward Troy. In that moment, what appeared to be a single act of desire became an unforgivable wound to honor. When Menelaus returned and found Helen gone, grief turned to fury. Remembering the ancient oath sworn years before, he called upon every king who had once sought her hand. Bound by their promise, they had no choice but to answer. From across Greece they came, warriors, kings, and legends, assembling a fleet so vast it darkened the sea. And so it was said that Helen's beauty became the face that launched 1,000 ships, not because she commanded them, but because her absence demanded vengeance. Led by Agamemnon, the Greeks sailed to Troy, carrying heroes like Achilles, Odysseus, Ajax, and Nestor, all driven by honor, ambition, and destiny. The war that followed dragged on for 10 brutal years, as Troy's walls stood firm and neither side could claim victory. Within those walls lived Helen, blamed for the suffering of thousands, watching warriors die in her name. Torn by guilt and regret, she moved like a shadow between 2 worlds, at times aiding the Trojans, at times secretly helping the Greeks, forever trapped by a choice shaped by the gods. At last, when strength failed and patience ran out, the Greeks turned to cunning. They built a massive wooden horse and left it at Troy's gates, pretending to abandon the war. Believing victory was theirs, the Trojans pulled the horse inside their city. But when night fell, the deception was revealed. Greek soldiers emerged, the gates were opened, and Troy was consumed by fire and blood in a single catastrophic night. When dawn came, Menelaus finally stood before Helen. His sword was raised, his rage justified, yet as he looked upon her, the anger faded. Whether it was love, memory, or the will of the gods, he could not strike her down. Helen returned with him to Sparta, while Troy, once mighty, became nothing more than ashen legend. And so Helen lived on, not as a warrior or a queen of conquest, but as a symbol of desire, destiny, and divine manipulation. A woman whose beauty did not simply inspire love, but reshaped the course of history, reminding the world that sometimes the greatest wars begin not with hatred, but with a single apple, a broken oath, and a face that moved 1,000 ships.